Hello and welcome to At the Heart of Health with Dr. James Marcum. In today's well-marketed world, it's hard to know who or even what to believe when it comes to health care. In each program, Dr. Marcum, a board-certified behavioral cardiologist, takes a balanced approach using common sense modern medicine and the ultimate source of truth, the Bible, recognizing that at the heart of health is love.
I'm Dr. James Marcum, and welcome to Heart of Health. Each week we try to tackle some interesting and unusual topic in healthcare. We haven't talked about cigarettes in a long time, and years ago you used to see the harmful effects on cigarettes everywhere. We'd see it in the news and the media almost on a daily basis. But nowadays, talking about the damages of cigarettes and what it's doing to your health, it sort of fell by the wayside. Well, the damage that cigarettes are occurring in our society is not. It continues, and we've got a specialist that's going to help us through this, Craig. And you know, you deal with smoking, and I want to introduce you to our viewers. This is Craig Amaral, a good friend of mine, someone that's done respiratory therapist. And Craig, what got you interested in respiratory therapy? And tell us about your journey, and also, when you get a chance, mention this book that you've just written about how people can overcome the smoking addiction.
Well, good. First of all, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
I've been a respiratory therapist for 15 years.
I'm going to stop you. What is a respiratory therapist? Our audience might not know.
Well, we're along the lines of nurses, but we focus on the respiratory system. So many patients that come in through the hospital that I work at may have secondary problems. They may be coming in for one thing, but always turns into an underlying respiratory problem. They may have asthma, COPD, which we'll talk about, lung cancer, or they may be in critical care where they're on a respirator that helps them breathe. And so we're sort of all over the place, and we intervene if needed in those areas. So it's sort of a specialized area that focuses with the lungs.
Focus on the lungs.
Right, exactly. Okay. And so I've been doing that for 15 years. I started in 1994 and have continued since then. And I got where I wanted to write a book is, like you talked about, the way smoking isn't focused on very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of swept under the rugs. COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is the #4 killer in the world right now. It's being heart disease, strokes, and cancer. But all those are on the decline, just statistically. COPD is still on the rise. And I always ask myself, why is that? And my patients, and it's amazing, don't know what COPD is. They don't understand their disease. So I felt like it'd be a great opportunity to write a book and to help them understand their disease better. But also being a Christian, I felt, well, man, anyone can write a book about COPD and just put out the information. But I wanted to tie in Christianity. I wanted to tie in God's healing power into that book. So that's sort of how I took off on that. So I wrote a 3-part book. It's the first part, sort of a scriptural part, and that deals with temptation, addiction, and some issues that went on in the Bible that I think parallel what goes on with smoking and addiction there. And then I wrote a section about the disease itself and what causes it, the statistics that are out there, to enlighten people. And then the third part I did was a devotional section, and it's sort of a 30-day, once they kind of commit to quit smoking, it sort of gives them a devotional from the Bible, and then it also will give them a statistic about smoking, sort of reinforce their ideas of why they want to quit. And then I kind of went from there.
Wow. Now, respiratory therapy, do you have to go to school for respiratory therapists, or can just anyone just learn about it?
It's sort of like nursing. You got to go to school for a few years.
Take a test?
You take a test, you got to get certified, you got to get licensed in the state, and then you got to do continuing education, all that stuff. Okay. So there's quite a bit involved with it, but it's a great field. It's a field that's going to be needed in the future.
Well, it seems like if COPD continues to rise in prevalence, there are going to be jobs out there.
And the baby boomers are getting older, and as you know, we're doing a good job at keeping them alive, maybe longer than some of them need to be. But
and I guess after Breath Wish, you would be considered a writer. Were you trained in writing, or is this just sort of a God thing?
I guess it was a God thing. I'd never written anything like that before. I started off actually writing articles for Heartwise Ministries. Mm-hmm. And You kind of mentioned to me one time, man, it'd be good to have a book about some of this stuff. That's sort of where I kind of got rolling. I started thinking about it, praying about it. Well, maybe it would be a good idea to write a book. So I started writing it and sort of got on a roll, and it took me about 6 months to write it between work and...
Well, before we get to our questions here that our viewers have sent in, how would a person get this book, Breath Wish?
Well, I have a website through the publisher. It's www.outskirtspress.com/breathwish.
Okay.
But you can Google search it, and it's on Amazon, through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and there's a lot of Christian websites that distribute books that have it as well.
Well, I've read this book, and what I like about this book is it not only tells you the problems that have to do with cigarettes, but it gives you a real solution, and it's sort of a God solution. I don't think anything out there has been written that includes God in the treatment plan.
Well, you know, Jim, we're all, or Dr. Marcum, we're all built differently. But God heals. We see it in the Bible. He may heal immediately, or he may use trials and tribulations to heal us that strengthen our character, strengthen others' characters. So I felt like using the Bible and intertwining that with the research that's out there, and then helping people understand addiction and temptation. And there's a big difference between the two. We can't put temptation into a test tube and look under a microscope. It's a battle between yourself and spirits, demonic spirits that you got to overcome. And there's a lot of stories throughout the Bible that deal with that and talk about that. So, and I kind of use those, and then I used education, because, you know, if you can scare people and show them what this stuff does to your lungs, sometimes that works too. And then I think tying it all together worked really well with my book, so I went from there.
Well, and I think it's a great approach, because so often in medicine we just treat a symptom.
Right.
You know, you're going to make more money and have more patients if you never get at the cause.
That's right. Exactly.
But this book gets at the cause, and I just want to recommend it to anyone that might be struggling. This could be the book that helps you quit cigarettes. It might even work better than taking a medication or something else.
Don't get me wrong. I think we've talked about this before. Medications, they have their place, especially in critical care medicine. But some of the medicines we use on a daily basis aren't always the best for you. And I talk about some of the nicotine replacements and non-nicotine replacements. And I think there can be a place for those things, but as you know, there's a lot of side effects with those. So I think people got to weigh the pros and cons on that. But at the same time, I'm not going to discourage people if that's what it's going to take to help them get over it. But I still think I encourage them through my book to go to God first. You know, start there and pray about it, and ask God to intervene in your life, and He's going to help you one way or the other. We know that, and there's Bible promises all over the place that tell us that. And then, you know, if you feel like you need to go to group get help, you know, better breathing clubs or whatever it is that might be helpful for you, that's great too. Or get a buddy that might want to quit and read the book and go through the process yourself, you know, together as a team. So.
And the name of that book is Breath Wish, and it can be found at outskirtspress.com, or you can go Google it on Amazon. Well, Craig, what we've done is we've collected questions that's come into the Heartwise Ministries websites. It's heartwiseministries.org, and we're going to answer some of these questions on air after we go to a short break. So if you might have loved ones that might have a smoking problem, might want to learn more about how to overcome this habit, or even learn more about how it's devastating our society, join us after this short break. We will be right back. I'm Dr. James Marcum, and I talk to patients every day who want to know the truth in healthcare. On our website, heartwiseministries.org, you can have your questions answered. You can read my blog where I talk about interesting and controversial subjects in medicine. You might choose to go to the radio or television sections and learn more about all sorts of health topics. Take the time and go to heartwiseministries.org.
You can easily spend $90 on an expensive meal out. How about investing $89.94 in your future? Just think about the possibility of coming off those prescription pills and getting rid of all the side effects. Think about feeling better than you have ever felt in your life. This is all possible for you. For only $89.94, you will receive a 7-part DVD series, Weight Management by the Book, a 30-lesson workbook with over 100 recipes, and if ordered today, exercise tubes will be included for free to help with your journey. There are many programs available, but this unique program has identified the truth about how to manage weight. This program is not available in stores. This limited offer will not last long. Pick up the phone now and dial 877-504-9628. Operators are standing by. This call will change your life forever.
Two words for you. Pop quiz. Ready? Name any funny movie. A drama. Name a mystery. And one more thing. Name the movie your kids saw today in science class.
Know what really matters. Know about your kid's school. And know about your kid. Find out 100 ways to know more, do more.
Welcome back to Heart of Health. Today we're talking about cigarettes and the diseases associated that with Craig Amaral, who's a respiratory therapist. Craig, let's go right to the questions. And the first question comes from a 17-year-old. She says, all my friends are smokers and I started trying this. Does smoking hurt the body? And you know, that seems like an obvious question to us, but when you're just starting out, they might not have good information.
Right. You know, some people believe if you don't inhale, you don't get as much smoke, and it doesn't cause
I've
much
heard
damage.
that before. Is that true?
One of our presidents said that, actually.
But is it true?
You still get some of the smoke in your lungs.
Okay.
And you have issues with oral cancer, too, that you can get from smoking if you're not careful. But we know the smoking damages the lungs. It affects how the lungs clean themselves. It increases the chance of infection, pneumonias, and then that damage can further lead to emphysema or chronic bronchitis. But it also affects the heart. We know that increases your blood pressure, makes your blood stickier, makes stroke chances increase, which can lead to things like lost fingers, peripheral artery disease that can lead to. So, of course, then if you're a vain person or a superficial person, it can lead to yellowing of teeth. I see people all the time because they smoke down to the nubs. Their fingernails and fingers turn yellow. Makes your clothes smell awful. I mean, it's not only inside the body, it also affects outside the body.
So it hurts a little bit more than the lungs.
Yeah, and lungs are probably the primary thing, but then from the lung issues, it makes the heart work harder, of course, and then it goes on and it sort of spreads throughout the body from there.
Now, this might help her out. Ingredients in cigarettes is it? I know about nicotine. Is that all that's in a cigarette?
Nicotine's the addictive part of the cigarette. Okay. That's what gets you hooked. There are over 4,000 chemicals in cigarettes that we know of.
4,000?
4,000.
Wow.
50 of them we know cause cancer. So those type of chemicals there's benzene, there's formaldehyde, ammonia. These are things that we use as cleaning agents. Butane, things that are in lighters. So the chemicals in cigarettes alone are very damaging, and a lot of them can cause cancer. That's how people get lung cancer. But there's also carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is not necessarily a carcinogen or cancer-causing, but it's a poison. And what it does is it interferes with the oxygen uptake into the blood. It basically beats oxygen to the blood, so it takes up that space, but it serves no function. Okay. So it causes problems with the brain, causes problems with the lungs and throughout the body, increases the heart's work, and same sort of thing. So yes, there's a lot of chemicals that in cigarette smoke.
So we're not really designed to handle that, are we?
No, you wouldn't think you'd want to put something like that in your pipe.
One of the things, as a cardiologist, one of the statistics we have that if a person can quit smoking cigarettes, they've lowered their chance of having a heart attack by 50%. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, and like we talked about before, smoking is the #4 killer in the world. 80 to 90% of COPD is caused by smoking. So imagine if people stopped smoking altogether, how far down the charts that would drop. Smoking or COPD would be basically just a blip on the radar map after that. So.
Well, why do you think these teenagers, you said how bad it is. Does it damage the skin and looks? I mean, a lot of people want to do things because they think it looks cool. You're smoking cigarettes and look prettier.
Well, we see it in the movies.
Yeah.
All our movie heroes smoke. Not so much. It used to be in the old days. You see everybody smoke. But even now in movies, you'll see people like Brad Pitt or someone famous, who we think's cool, smoking cigarettes. And that's stuff that attracts kids to stuff like that. You know that. We all did crazy stuff when we were young too. So Hollywood has a big influence. Our peers have a big influence. The cool kids at school may smoke. You may even see athletes that smoke. I've seen golfers that smoke. I've seen people in dugouts, professional athletes smoking cigarettes. So, it may be subtle. They may not realize that people are watching them, but kids look up to those people, and teenagers look up to those people. And so And then of course we know it's really addictive, and it goes from there. So.
Well, so I guess the answer to that question is don't start smoking cigarettes. It's dangerous to you, and it's addictive. So the first one can really get you going.
It can get you hooked right off the bat. Studies have shown that in some people, cigarette smoke can be as addictive as like crack cocaine. Of course, everybody's addictive personalities are different. You know, some people get addicted more easily than others, but I wouldn't want to take the chance. You know, it's something that you can start, and after a few puffs or even a few cigarettes, you might get that urge to want to smoke more and more. And then once you get hooked, as you know, and like anything, it's very difficult to quit after that. So.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. Well, I hope her question's answered.
Yeah.
Our next question is going to be about secondhand smoke, and we're going to answer that question after we take a brief break. But we'll be right back.